Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hey, James.
Cool. Thanks, Hila. Thanks everyone for taking time this afternoon to join us in our first African Development Center Nairobi site engineering digital event. We're looking forward to have an interactive session with you guys, and hope that by the end of it, you'll have an idea of what working in engineering teams at African Development Center feels like, or at Microsoft at large. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is James Diga. I'm a technical recruiter working at Microsoft and what you call the Global Talent Acquisition Team. This is a team that's in charge of sourcing, screening, and recruiting the amazing talent that we have here at Microsoft. And today, it's an honor to be hosting this event, and we have three great speakers from a program manager and software engineering department, who will be talking to us about their journey, their roles, their growth, the teams that they work in, the products and services that they are building, and also share their experience so far working at the African Development Center site here in Nairobi. But before that, before I invite them to introduce themselves, I would like to give you a general overview of Microsoft investment so far in Africa. So as most of you know, Microsoft has operated in Africa for slightly above 25 years now. And in that time, we've been able to build strong partnerships across the continent, help bridge gaps in infrastructure, connectivity, and capability. And we are working with, we are working to empower countries in Africa to digitally transform while creating sustained societal impact. Last year in March, we opened our first hyperscale data center in Joburg and Cape Town in South Africa. These are the first global provider to deliver cloud services from data centers in the continent. And as a further demonstration of our commitment to Africa and in line with our mission, which is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. 2 months later, which is May 2019, we launched the African Development Center, where we have 2 sites, one in Nairobi and the other one in Lagos, Nigeria. And these, are additions to the other global development centers that we have across the world. With the ADC, Microsoft intentions was to establish, a premier center of engineering where world-class talent, African talent, will be able to create innovative solutions that have both a local and global impact. So far, the engineers here at ADC use AI and machine learning across their work, and you'll hear more from the engineers that will be talking to you shortly, from the computer vision algorithms that power mixed reality to the machine learning models that optimize software updates across the globe. So the products are designed to enable, seamless data-rich and AI-infused computing from the cloud to the edge, and we are hoping that you'll soon be joining these amazing teams to continue building the products and services that have, both local and global impact. Having said that, it's my pleasure now to introduce to you our 3 panelists for this afternoon. I'd like to ask Betty Rose to, introduce herself and tell us more about, herself and role at Microsoft. Over to you, Betty Rose.
Okay, so thank you so much, James, for the good introduction. So my name is Betty Rose. I am a program manager at Microsoft. I work on an API called Microsoft Graph, which is the API that allows you to access data sitting in M365. To break it down further, M365 is a combination of tools that is Windows 10, Office 365, and enterprise mobility and security. These 3 tools give you access to so much data, and the one API to access data sitting in these 3 tools is the Graph API. What I do, I take care of developer experiences so that the developers working on Microsoft Graph are well supported, and we do it in 2 ways. First is ensuring that the documentation is standard and easy to read, and at the same time, we also create tools to help them in their development journey. These tools is an example is a learning tool that we call Graph Explorer. that allows you to make calls to the Graph API and see the kind of responses you can get from the API. So yeah, that's what I do. And I've been at Microsoft for almost 2 years. I will turn 2 years in December, and it has been an exciting experience learning something new every day.
Thank you, Betty Rose. Rosemary, tell us about yourself and what you do here at Microsoft.
Okay, so thanks, James. My name is Rosemary Onyango, and I am a senior software engineer at Microsoft. I am based in Nairobi with the rest of the team, and I have been in the company for slightly over 1 year now, so not so long ago. I am part of a team that is involved in improving application compatibility. So for every supported version of Windows. And so what we do is that we ensure that customers can update from one version of Windows to another with confidence without having to worry about compatibility issues after an update. So the job would involve, as usual, business analysis, of the problem you're trying to solve, and also the actual software development where you're translating the output of the analysis into actual code. And then, of course, deploying the apps that we've developed to our end users, having them test them and getting feedback on whether we have indeed added value to their need. I have been working as a software engineer for a couple of years now, and it's definitely been an amazing journey with a lot of learning and growth. And I'm definitely looking forward to having a great conversation for the next 1 hour. Thanks.
Thanks, Rosemary. Over to you, James Maringa. Tell us about yourself and what you do.
Thanks, Niga. Hi, everyone. I'm James Maringa. I am a software engineer at Microsoft. Like Betty, I also work on Microsoft Graph, but on a different area of Microsoft Graph. We handle the onboarding of multiple Microsoft products onto Microsoft Graph. Now, as she said, Microsoft Graph is like the Microsoft API, and it connects multiple services and products together. And so what our team does is make sure that that experience is seamless, and that as those APIs join the graph, they join without a hitch. As you can imagine, those APIs are quite different and they all have their own schemas and things like that. And so we build tools that make sure that they can onboard onto the graph without any issues. I've been here for about a year, but professionally I've been writing code for about 7 years. So it's been a very interesting ride at Microsoft, and I'm really liking it.
Back to you, Betty. We just want to dig deeper into your role as a program manager, because people here, they're really interested, or they have already applied for a job as a program manager, but they would like to hear from you, like, what does your day-to-day look like as a program manager here in Microsoft?
Okay, so the easiest way to describe a program manager is the person who sits in between the developer and the user, constantly being the voice of the user in the engineering org. So, program management has a lot of nuances to it, and by this I mean there are so many cogs and wheels that run for program management that program management organization owns to make sure that the products that we are delivering are up to par. So one of the things that we own is the roadmap for the product. And by roadmap is, if, for example, I own the developer experience, I will own the milestones and when we plan to achieve them. I also ensure that I'm collecting feedback from my users to understand, do you like these features? What should we do better? What should we continue doing? What should we improve? And such kind of things. So there's a mix of talking to users constantly to acquire feedback, analyzing this feedback so that we can prioritize the features that need to be implemented soon and by when, depending on the needs of the user, and at the same time proactively collecting data either through telemetry or also through interviews and such kind of things to ensure that you're making data-driven decisions, and at the same time being able to communicate to stakeholders, because remember that products have teams that depend on them. So constantly being able to communicate to stakeholders on when we shall have things delivered, and constantly being able to communicate to the developers what things we need to do and how we need to do them. So I'd say program management is the constant voice of the user in the development or in the engineering arm. So you have the technical depth to understand the product, and at the same time, you're able to talk about the product in a layman's to someone else, and also collect feedback and be able to relay these and make it actionable for your engineers.
Yeah, thanks, Betty Rose. As one of the pioneer program managers, do you mind sharing like what has been exciting for you so far in your career with Microsoft as a program manager?
Yeah, sure. So one of the most exciting things is that you're constantly learning everything. So my previous role, I was more in the sales organization, in the technical sales. So I hadn't had like a good experience working as a program manager. So transitioning to this role meant that I had a steep learning curve, and it can be frustrating, but at the same time, it's really like an exciting thing in that every day there's something new that you're learning. And also, as you deepen your knowledge in the product, you're also able to get immediate reward by seeing your customers happy using the product that you created. As an example, the team in Kenya, they redesigned the whole Graph Explorer tool, and we launched it during Microsoft Build beginning of this year. And it was so impressive to see the faces of people as we unveiled the new version of Graph Explorer, 100% created in Kenya. And this is some of the things that excite me, that you're able to work on things that have direct impact on your users, and you're able to receive the rewards, seeing how happy they are using your products that you have created. And at the same time, being able to learn so many things, and being able to work with people who are constantly willing to help you, and constantly being able to step in and support you in any way that you'd love. So I'd say those are some of the exciting things for me.
There's an interesting question from the audience here. Someone would like to know whether, based on your experience, whether there are any, technical expertise that's required, i.e., programming skills for you to become a program manager.
Okay, that's an interesting question. So I would say one of the key skills of a program manager is that you have to have the technical depth. By technical depth is if you own a product. For example, the bigger product that James and I own is Microsoft Graph, and our users are developers. So if your primary user or your primary customer is the developer, you need to understand how to talk their language. So I would say you need the technical know-how, but not to the aspect of like you're coding every day, but you need to understand if James gave you his code or gave you his product, you should be able to run through and understand what he's actually doing. But at the same time, you're able to have the depth in a way you can communicate whatever that product is doing to a layman who doesn't understand anything doesn't understand the technical details of whatever product you're showcasing them. So I would say understanding the primary skill, I would say, is understanding design and architecture, understanding problem solving, that you can understand a problem from like a wholesome way and be able to break it down to someone, and then technical details or technical depth in the product that you own. Not that you can write code on it, but if you are given anything, if you are given code on it, you would not struggle understanding what the code is doing. And then third, it's a lot of people skills. The top of it being communication, because program managers are constantly communicating with stakeholders. So you need to be able to relay information in an easy to understand way, and at the same time be able to create great human relationships with other people that you're working with, because you're constantly negotiating.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Betty. Let's shift gears a little bit and move from now program management to the real software engineering world. And I want to jump to you, James, and ask you, like, what does your day-to-day look like as a software engineer at ADC?
All right. Thanks, James. So for starters, one of the things that I really liked about ADC and how Microsoft has done it is that all the teams here are actually an extension of the teams in Redmond, where there are a lot of big tech companies that sort of only do the important work at the headquarters, and then you'd find the satellite offices are doing some other rudimentary work. But here you're working on the same core products that the rest of the team across the world is working on. And so because of that, I collaborate a lot with people in Redmond. And so my day-to-day usually involves, I mean, since I'm a software engineer, I'm gonna write a lot of code. Mostly that it's gonna involve syncing with the PMs because our PMs are here, but a lot of our managers are in Redmond. So it's mostly syncing and coordinating on the work that needs to get done. So we have, for instance, quarterly goals and targets and commitments that things we want to work on. And so every day I'm sort of working towards that. And then we also have, depending on the team, some teams have Agile or Scrum or Kanban. So the good thing is that one of the values we have here is accountability. And so everyone is expected to be accountable to work on their own thing that they're working on without being followed up on. And so you get to determine everything from the design to the implementation to how you're going to be rolling out the product. And so most of that is on you, right? And so you get to really grow in that area when it comes to sort of managing yourself and managing the direction of whatever it is you're working on. So it's assumed that, you know, when you get in, you're capable of doing the work you're given. And so it's left up to you to, you know, determine the direction of that. So for me, it's mostly doing a lot of code, and also on my end, because we support the graph, we have to do on-call work. And so that means being able to troubleshoot any issues that come up during the week when you're on call, because we have a rotation. And that also helps you really grow a lot because you understand what the users, the issues the users are facing, and you get to learn the inner workings of the products when you're debugging and sorting stuff out.
Cool. And a follow-up question to that, you seem to have had a very good, an interesting, period here at ADC. I'd like to know what are some of the challenges you've faced so far, and how have you, encountered them?
Okay. I think for me, one of the biggest challenges, like I said, I work a lot with people in Redmond, and as you might know, Redmond is 10 hours behind Nairobi. So you have to be very creative with how you plan your day. So ideally, you might, whether you're a morning person or an evening person, you might tend to be a bit flexible. You'll need to be a bit flexible with your hours, and so like having that shift and just knowing that, okay, we're all working towards a common goal, and so they usually need to come in a bit earlier so that we sync in the evening, or leave a bit later so that we do a sync in the morning. So I think that was a bit of a challenge, but also even ramping up, because I've seen someone ask about whether C# is a required language. So I didn't know C# when I joined, and I hadn't worked with anything that was .NET related. So also having to ramp up and learn all that tech, which is great because then you understand a lot of stuff that you didn't work with before. So the good thing is that you're given time to ramp up and to learn this tech, and also it's more about having that growth mindset and working towards making yourself better than just knowing everything the moment you join. Yep.
Cool. I want to bring Rosemary into the picture, and Rosemary, you're among the first software engineers to be hired to join the African Development Center. I'm curious to learn from you, like what led you to make that decision that you really want to pursue your software engineering career with Microsoft?
That's a good question. So the decision to join the company was driven by a couple of things. So The main one, though, was that it would give me an opportunity to be part of something that would either directly or indirectly impact many people's lives. And I mean very many people's lives, because if you think about it, if you're working on a product like Office, the apps in Office, or you're working on improving the OS, or like what we do in our team, ensuring there's compatibility across versions, you realize that you're essentially touching on something that once released out there is going to potentially impact very many people. And for me, that was a big thing, because as you grow in your career, you realize that at some point, engineering goes beyond just writing code. It goes beyond just earning an income, and sometimes you want to see that people are actually benefiting from they're benefiting from your engineering output. And so the opportunity to be part of a team that was going to give me a chance to work on things that would have a global impact was a really big driving force. Also remember, as part of our work, you're also looking for something that's very fulfilling. So knowing that someone is greatly benefiting from something you've done is a very fulfilling feeling. And then one other thing that also made me join the company, I think if you've seen a lot of the articles that are out there, the clips that are on YouTube, and they look at life at Microsoft, the culture, it definitely makes you want to be part of that team or that organization that drives a lot of value amongst people through its culture. So if you're looking at things like especially culture that has an emphasis on continuous learning, culture that is very accommodating to women, especially. So yes, I'm a woman, I have to talk about that. So, cultures that are very accommodating to people like us, because we really need to have more and more girls and women getting into engineering. You want to be part of that team so that you can not just grow yourself, but also learn how to be more accommodating to other people. And there are a lot of other reasons that you'd want to join a company like Microsoft, but those two are the main reasons why I made a decision to shift into the company.
There's something very important you talked about, which is growth, and everyone is looking for growth in the organization that they apply for a job in. I'd like to hear from you, like, what are some of the growth opportunities you've experienced so far in Microsoft in line to your career?
So when you're talking about growth opportunities, it depends on how you look at it. So especially as an engineer, there are many directions that you can take when you're looking at growth. So there could be growth within the same line. And by that, I mean you continue growing as an individual contributor, because not everyone is wired towards being a lead. A lot of engineers, and I don't know, this is just my experience, we tend to be introverted a bit, and therefore it's not always exciting for everyone to try and drive towards a career direction that leads you into management. And so within Microsoft, we have the opportunity to still grow as an individual contributor, only that as you grow across the levels, then you take up more responsibilities as you grow. So, you're growing from an engineer to senior engineer to principal engineer, and the responsibilities grow. It moves from being just a role where you're writing code to probably getting into a role where you're a bit more strategic, you're advising on some of the products that you need to be taking up as a team or as an organization. And then there's obviously the possibility of growing into a lead role if you're interested. So we work in teams, and therefore, because we have a lot of work going on, there's always the opportunity to take up a lead role, even when you're applying into the company. There's also an opportunity to grow into roles like program management. So if you listen to what Betty has spoken about, you need to be technical to be more successful as a program manager. And therefore, as engineers, you are at an advantage because you're coming from a very technical background into a program management role, and that actually could potentially make you execute the role even better. And then, so all in all, generally, there's a lot of support from the company in supporting whatever growth path you want to take. There's also a lot of mentorship opportunities to guide anyone into making a decision around your growth path. So, yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, Rosemary. Betty Rose, there's a question here for you. Someone is asking, what are some of the specific learning opportunities, that is personal development or product development or emerging technologies that you can share so far that you've experienced within Microsoft?
Okay, that's a very good question. So one of the things that is highly encouraging Microsoft is investing some time in learning. As an example, in my organization, we have something we call Fix Hack Learn, which is a whole week where you don't think anything about work. You take some time off to either learn something or fix something or hack something related to your work. And so some of the learning opportunities, there are some that are delivered online, like in terms of on demand, and there are some that have in-person training. We have LinkedIn Learning as one of the tools that we have available as a Microsoft employee, and you can go in there and take any course that you'd want to pursue or any skill that you'd want to pursue. Pluralsight is also another opportunity we have as Microsoft employees. We get free access to all the resources that are in Pluralsight. Recently, I attended an in-person leadership training by Dale Carnegie, that was really helpful and impactful in helping me in my role better. In that training, you get to learn about mostly it's human relationship, which is majorly maybe 90% of our work as program managers. We are constantly communicating, negotiating, emotional intelligence, and all those things. And the training helped me think about how to redefine the human relationship and run it better. And so I have had an opportunity to attend Dale Carnegie's training, LinkedIn Learning, Pluralsight, and also from time to time, we will have internal sessions where people share their knowledge. As an example, we have an hour of learning that is usually once a week, and one of the employees or one of the engineers or PMs will come in and share their ideas. Even in my team, we have a how-to series that runs every month, where one of us will come in and facilitate a session with the rest of the people listening on a topic that they are very comfortable with. So I would say learning is something that is heavily encouraged because we embrace the growth mindset, which means we are constantly learning, constantly taking in feedback and getting better at what we do. And I would say I feel very well supported with the resources internally. And that is just like a tip of the iceberg. I'm sure there are so many other resources I haven't been able to uncover yet. And I would highly encourage you to apply, because of if what you love is growing yourself and also learning more about other skills, it's a huge opportunity given to you at Microsoft to learn from others internally and also to learn from all the resources that are provided.
Thank you. James, there's a question here for you. There's some engineers are asking, sorry, I just lost the question. Oh, it's cool. I got it. What processes does the development team follow? Agile, stand-up, sprints, retros? Do you mind clarifying that? I can see there are several people who have popped up that question. So I think it's good either you or Rosemary to clarify that for us.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so it goes by a team basis. Like there's no specific Microsoft guideline for how to conduct teams. It's a very broad organization with very many teams. What I can say is that on our end, we have daily stand-ups and we follow like a Kanban approach of how to work on your tasks. I know some teams use Agile and other teams might not do stand-ups. So again, it depends on multiple things, the type of product you're working on, the size of the team, and also what works. Because the thing is, the most important thing is to create an environment where everyone is being most productive. And so you can try around different things and find what works with you, what doesn't, and pick the best approach to develop software. There's no one one standard way, one size fits all when it comes to writing software. So the most important thing is just to find the thing that works for your team. And our team has chosen to do the Kanban approach with daily stand-ups. Yeah.
Rosemary, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so largely what James has spoken about, probably what I'd emphasize on, as I add on to what he said, is that much as there are normally very structured approaches towards running teams and executing projects, a lot of times it really depends on what works best for the team and what works best for the products that you're developing. So it's not always that you want to have a deliverable or to have a release of a product probably every week, every month. Sometimes these are internal products that don't need such a high frequency of delivery. So it really depends on the team you find yourself in. It depends on what you agree amongst yourself, and that's the beauty of working for such a company where there is no one strict way where how things have to work. If you're coming from an environment where you had a better experience with different approaches to development projects, you can bring it in and propose it and see if it works for the team. So no specific way of doing stuff. It really all depends. But yes, in most of the projects, you'll find a combination of the standard approaches as Kanban, like James has spoken about. Yeah, and then definitely, like I said, just to emphasize, bringing in your experience from where you've come from. A lot of people have worked in various companies. Some have worked in startups, some have worked in public government institutions, and then you come in and bring in that combined experience, propose it to the team, and look at where others are coming from, and then look at the kind of projects that you're facing and come up with a proper way of doing things. The other thing you have to realize is that these days there are a lot of tools that automate some of these things. So if you have some of the tools that we have that we use internally that do not necessarily, or rather eliminate the need for daily stand-ups, because everything is available at a glance and you don't need to have everyone reporting in a meeting what they worked on. So things are evolving in technology, and therefore I think it's important to just be open to being able to work within any kind of project, any kind of development approach.
Great. There's a very positive comment here. Someone is saying working for Microsoft has now become almost a goal to pursue. Being able to see other Africans working on the real stuff well in Microsoft guys. And I think you guys seem to have a very good career so far in Microsoft, and I'd like to know, even the audience would like to know, what does success look like in the different roles that you're playing in Microsoft from a program management perspective and also from a software engineering perspective? Like, what metrics are used to measure your success and growth? We can start with you, Betty Rose.
Okay, so I will say as a program manager, success for me would be good user feedback, that people actually appreciate the product that I own. At the same time, impact of the product that I own, in that I am able to ensure that all the developers, it probably will take some time, but if all developers who are creating applications on Microsoft Graph feel well supported, our documentation is really good, our tooling, SDKs, all those things are really up to par. And if we are getting really good feedback of things that would make their work easier. Also, success for me would be seeing Microsoft Graph API being appreciated and taken up in our region. So it's not a well-known API, and I have had situations where I talk about it and someone tells me, I didn't know that this is something I could actually do. So success for me would be seeing more opportunities and more organizations in Africa take up the product that are being created by Microsoft to enable them either to solve problems create new revenue models for themselves or cut costs or bring more productivity for their employees, and therefore creating like a better working environment for everyone. So I think that is how success would be. From a generic PM perspective, I would say its impact, or both personally, that you're able to impact your colleagues and the developers that you work with, in that you create an environment where they feel included, and also create an environment that appreciates new ideas and appreciates everyone's opinion, and at the same time create an impact in that the products you're creating ensure that there is a direct impact in the market, in the users that you're actually serving. So I would say that in line with the Microsoft mission to empower everyone and every company in the planet.
Thank you, Betty Rose. James, what does success look like in a software engineering career at Microsoft?
I'm going to echo a bit of what Betty has said, and this is going to be, I guess, the same for a lot of us. It's very important to have a big impact here at Microsoft. It's not really about like activity or like what product you shipped. It's like what impact did that have? And in my experience, what I've seen is the most important thing is contributing mostly to the success of other people. And so if I can use that, like in my case, where I'm responsible for making sure that different products that want to onboard onto Microsoft Graph do it seamlessly. Like, it's all right, did I build the appropriate tools that reduced the time they take or made it much easier for them to join? So it's basically thinking about how am I contributing to other people based on what I am doing. It's not really focusing on, okay, so I built this really cool thing, but it's not adding much value to other people or to my customers. So you have to be very customer focused and make sure that you're adding value to other people. So, and then when everyone does that, it builds up very well, because then you're more concerned with the customers than just building things for the sake of building them. So yeah, for me, it's just customer obsession and contributing to the success of others.
And we usually say that when you're hiring engineers, we are not stack specific, especially when personally part of the GTA team, we are taking the candidates through the codility test and all these assessments to figure out whether they are fit for Microsoft. And I'm sure some of the engineers are curious. If you do your interviews with JavaScript and then you pass the interviews, you're given an offer, you accept, and then you resume as a software engineer, then you have to restack once you join Microsoft. What's the ramp up experience like? Because you mentioned that sometimes you have to learn a new stack. So some people, I'm sure mostly software engineers, are curious to know, like, what does that path look like? If one of the engineers, Rosemary, maybe you can share that based on your experience. What does the leveling up and ramping up on a new stack look like in Microsoft?
So definitely, my own personal experience was that when I joined the company, there were a lot of things that I had to unlearn and learn. So especially when it comes to the stacks you're using, you might find yourself having to learn something new. You might not necessarily be a a .NET developer, and yet realize you have to develop or deliver some of the products in .NET. However, the important thing to note is that if you're very good with your basics in software development and generally software engineering, because these things don't change. Once you have the basics right, and you have experience developing over time, and you might even be lucky to have tried to learn a new language over time, it's not really difficult. The beauty about restacking is that usually you're not just studying, but you're given something to proactively develop and deliver on. And therefore that makes for perfect practice. And the company normally will understand when they're hiring you, they do not necessarily hire a C# developer. You might be a Java developer or a JavaScript developer coming in to develop with C#, and they do not necessarily expect you to deliver a product on day one or week one. So there are expectations that you need to level up. Of course, you've got to do your part to make sure that you can begin delivering value as soon as possible. But the company makes sure you have enough internal resources to study. You can sign up to some of the online learning platforms that are available publicly to restack. There's also a lot of mentorship internally from people who have experience developing in the new language you're learning. And therefore, within a span of, let's say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you should be able to do something. But then there are many approaches to bring you on board. Some of them would be for you to start looking at bugs in code and try and fix them. And slowly, before you know it, you'll have picked up very quickly on a new skill. So my experience has been that we didn't have that much pressure to deliver immediately. We were given enough time to study, or given enough time to try and familiarize ourselves with the language, with the projects that we will be developing on. So I'd encourage anyone who is not necessarily a .NET developer to really apply, because it's really not a big determinant.
Thank you, Rosemary. James, was your experience different, or is it similar to what Rosemary went through?
I would say it's more or less similar, but in our case, the entire team, like no one had any .NET experience, and we were all supposed to, and we all code in C# and on the .NET framework. So it took a bit of time for us to ramp up, but then also we were very eager. So I guess that eagerness caused us to be given like work in the first week, but it was more of like stuff to make us ramp up much easier. So like there wasn't like any pressure to like deliver it immediately, but it really went a long way in getting us comfortable with the tools and the frameworks we were using. And I think within like 3 weeks we'd started pushing stuff out, and that also like went a long way in getting us really good quality work much faster than a lot of the teams. Again, also it's very team specific, but you know, the more eager you are to learn, it just shows that you know you can ramp up quickly, and you can start working on really productive things as soon as possible.
Now let's talk about work-life balance. You're talking about these amazing things you're doing. Guys would be like, oh, Microsoft is a good company to work with, but it also comes with a lot of pressure. I would like to hear from, Betrose, how do you balance between your work and your, social life, just to make sure that you maintain that healthy check in your work?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And like James had alluded to, working with different time zones is actually a challenge, because it means like your day is reversed. Yeah, because Redmond will wake up at 6 p.m. and you need at least 2 to 3 hours of collaboration so that you can unblock your developers on the next day. So well, that is a problem. I have found ways to go around it. So one of the things is I have set up my day to ensure that it starts late and then it extends till later. Yeah, so that I'm able to ensure that I have collaboration time with my team in Kenya, and I have collaboration time with my team in Redmond. And my team is very diverse. We have some people in Canada, we have some people in Kenya, we have a bit of team in India, and a bit of some people in Redmond, or let's just say USA, because they are distributed among different states. So I would say planning my day has helped me have a work-life balance. Also, ensuring that when it's Friday and I'm done with work, I leave work and no work gets into the weekend, and I come back to work on Monday. Also, because we're in the time of COVID, we have become more creative in ensuring that we are connecting with each other. As an example, my team every Friday evening in Kenya, which is like Friday morning in Redmond, we usually have like a game time. And this is like an opportunity for us to come online and virtually play something together, like play a game for like a whole hour and connect beyond work. Aside from that, in Kenya, we also have opportunities like we get together for like yoga, Zumba, all virtually. And we used to have a lot of those sessions even more physically before COVID happened. So I would say there's an opportunity for you to mold your structure. Like, it's very flexible. There's no micromanagement. No one is coming to tell you, I need to see you at the office at this time, I need to see you online at this time. As long as you do what you're supposed to do and deliver what you're supposed to deliver at the time you are supposed to deliver it, that should be sufficient to ensure to give you autonomy to plan your day however you'd want to plan it. So I would say, I don't know that was satisfactory, but being able to flexibly organize my day, being able to meet with my colleagues to talk about non-work related, and leaving my work when work is done, and picking it up after my days off. Yeah.
Great. James, how does a software engineer unwind?
It honestly depends on the individual. I guess on my end, so I'm just gonna piggyback on what Betty Rose said about work-life balance. So I like to go to the gym to decompress, and usually it's like gives me energy and also just allows me to go for an extended period without thinking of work. So that usually, and what I do is, because I noticed, like, when I had a regular like day pre-COVID, I used to, you have the afternoon slump. So now these days I prefer to like go get some exercise in the afternoon. That way, like, I've split my day into like morning and evening. And then in the afternoon, where when I would have that slump, now that's when I get like a workout in, and then get energy to push me throughout the entire day. I miss playing football, because I used to go and play seven-a-side sometimes after work. But now that things are on lockdown, I can't do that anymore. But I also do like online game nights and stuff. There's some apps that actually allow you to have like games, whether it's trivia and stuff like that. So it's at least you can still hang out with people even though you can't meet physically. Yeah.
Cool. Before I ask you the final question, I just want to answer a question here from the audience. What does the recruitment process looks like? So once we open a rec and we advertise the job on the career site and you apply for the job, if it's a technical one, for example, you're looking to hire software engineers, we'll send you a technical assessment using Codility. It has 3 questions: an easy, medium, and a hard question. Then once you submit your work, there's a team of engineers who review your work based on the standards that have been set for those specific assessments. If you have met them and passed, then we invite you for a recruiter screening / sources screening, where we are checking for there are some non-technical focus areas or competencies that we check out for, and also cultural fitness to Microsoft. If you pass that, then we invite you for an interview. We usually have 4 interviews back to back, 4 hours, 45 minutes each, with a 15 minutes break. Once you pass if you pass the interview loops, then we extend you an offer. If you're not successful, we share feedback with you on areas that you need to level up in preparation for future opportunities within Microsoft. Unsuccessful candidates are usually given at least 6 months to ramp up on areas that they've been told to level up, so that they can consider reapplying for future opportunities that open up. If it's an offer, once you accept the offer, we initiate background checks. Background checks usually take at least 15 working days. And then upon successful completion of the background checks, then we discuss with your hiring manager on your resumption date, and then you can render your resignation with your current employer. Or if you're doing freelance and you're already available, then you can just immediately join. So basically that's how our recruitment process looks like, and it cuts across most of the engineering roles that we are hiring for. And in case you're interested, after this call, you can either, reach out to either me or any of the panelists on LinkedIn for more information. And we also have a lot of, career opportunities from software engineering, program management, designers, applied research scientists. Go to careers.microsoft.com and filter by Nairobi. You'll see a list of opportunities there. And for the university graduates, we also have full-time opportunities for students who recently graduated or they are graduating within the next 1 year. We have program manager roles and also software engineering roles for graduates. So feel free to grab this opportunity and join us, and we continue building the amazing products and services that we have both local and global impact. Finally, to my favorite part, I'll start with James. What's your favorite thing about working at Microsoft?
I guess I would say getting a chance to work with world-class engineers. You really have to step up your game. It's fun. Let me just say it's fun. It can be a bit daunting at first because you realize it's daunting and very humbling because you realize how little you know. And then when you start ramping up slowly and realizing that, oh, actually I actually have what it takes and I deserve to be here. It's very eye-opening, and it's a mind-blowing experience. So I would have to say that working with really world-class people is amazing.
Rosemary, what's your favorite
So
thing about working?
So James has mentioned what I was going to say. But besides the exposure that James just talked about, there's also the opportunity to network with people. So you find that, for example, in my larger team, not the one in Nairobi, there are people from all kinds of backgrounds, totally different cultures, different work experiences. So you can imagine on days when you come together to either try and execute a task, to try and fix something, or to just get together and share, network. It's amazing. It's one of those things that I think as you grow in your career, you're always looking forward to. And when you find that opportunity, it's truly an amazing thing. So that's my favorite thing about working at Microsoft.
Betty Rose, what's your favorite thing about working here?
I think one of the things that really makes me happy about working at Microsoft is its investment in diversity and inclusion, and the constant message by the leadership that we care about you, we love what you do, and we are here to support you. Like, that constant message is very comforting to know that people actually don't only care about your output, they care about you as a whole. So the second thing that really excites me about working at Microsoft is working on products that have a direct impact to the society. And so seeing, and that's why one of my biggest goals is to ensure that people actually know the impact of Graph API and the amount of opportunity it can bring to your organization. And the third thing that makes me happy about Microsoft is working with amazing people who are not only brilliant, but they are also happy to help. And I'm sure all of you, James, both Jameses and Rosemary, you can attest to that. There's no one time you reached out to someone and they were like, I don't want to help you. Like, everyone is super happy to help you. Everyone is super nice. Everyone is super kind. So I love that about it. And I'm seeing one question that is a constant, and I wanted to make sure to help answer it. Someone asked about, are there avenues for individual contributors, which I understood as people who don't work for Microsoft to participate in ADC projects. And as an example, all the projects that my team works on, which is another exciting thing why I love working at Microsoft in the team that I am in, is that all the projects my team works on are open source. Yeah. Which means if you want to participate, and contribute to like the code, you're free to do so. And all our work, all our code is open source and it is on GitHub. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. As ADC continues to grow, I think most of the people, have expressed interest to apply for the different roles that we are hiring. We are constantly looking for software engineers, program managers. If you go to our career sites, we have, a lot of job opportunities for the audience and, the community at large. What's that one advice you can give someone, Betty Rose, that are looking to apply for a job as a program manager in Microsoft?
So I would say one of the things that Microsoft really looks out for is more the skill and the experience. And if you're looking to apply for a PM role in Microsoft, ensure that you can demonstrate skills that will help you thrive on the job better. And these skills are such as problem solving, communication, technical depth in the area that you're interviewing for, and people skills like emotional intelligence, negotiation, being able to resolve conflict and such kind of things. So if you can demonstrate these, and you can even gain more by tapping into communities of product managers. And as an example, there's an event that runs every month of product managers that's called Product Hunt, as an example. If you can tap into more like product management communities, it will enable you to gain an understanding of the role better, and then you can demonstrate these skills during your interview, and you should be good to go.
Rosemary, we are looking to hire a lot of senior software engineers. What advice would you give some of the people in the audience who are looking to start a career at Microsoft as senior software engineers?
One, especially because senior engineers are people who know what they want. So it's beyond just giving the job a try. I'd encourage you to really apply. It's amazing. You'll realize that there's still a lot to learn, and it actually gives you that opportunity to grow beyond what we call locally a senior software engineer. And then also identify your areas of interest, because that's very important in also defining how you want the direction you want your growth to take. It also plays a big role in advising on the roles that you can apply for. So identify whether you're still interested in going for engineering after developing for a long time, or you want to switch into a PM role. And then once you have identified what your area of interest is, start knowing your stuff. Know your stuff, know the basics, ensure that you can apply the knowledge and the skills confidently if you're called upon. And then keep learning, because even as you wait for the interviews, as you wait to join the company, or even as you give yourself time to apply at Microsoft, keep learning and focus on especially the areas of interest that you have identified, so that when you're ready to apply, then it becomes an easy conversation with us.
Thank you. And finally, James, I'm just fresh from campus. I want to pursue a career at Microsoft as a software engineer. What advice would you give me? Very raw, don't have that, experience working for an international company, but I'm really, really excited. What advice would you give me?
Okay. First, two things. One, knowing your stuff, knowing the fundamentals is very important. I've seen a question someone asked about whether it's important to know the data structures, and people don't apply them. I have to say, from experience, you will apply them. So you really have to know that stuff, and it just makes your code much it's. Trust me, you need that stuff. But knowing those fundamentals are very important. Key computer science principles. You don't have to have come from a core CS background, but those fundamentals will ultimately determine the quality of code you write. So you really, really have to know them. And the other thing I would say is just learn how to learn. You really need to know how to learn and how to add, knowledge and to leverage different areas, of your knowledge, and just make good from that, because majority of your career will probably be spent working on stuff you haven't worked on before. So you really need to be able to know how to learn and how to pick up new skills and how to apply them. So nothing, there's no like fixed set of skills that you need, but you have to keep improving everything you have. Yep.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. We are out of time. Thank you, James. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Betty Rose, for taking your time to share your experience at Microsoft so far. I hope to the audience this has been, encouraging and exciting, and we have covered, if not all, a lot of the stuff that you had questions about the African Development Center. In case we haven't, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. We are available and at your disposal to answer any questions. And we'll also look forward to receive those applications for the different roles that we are hiring for in this site. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day and the weekend as well ahead. Goodbye.